You're listening to the Josh Parnell Leadership Podcast. We all have leadership within us, and once we understand how to challenge perceived limitations, we're able to influence those we're leading. Josh is a leadership coach, trainer, and speaker. He's also a veteran of the United States Air Force with over 20 years of leadership experience. Are you ready to transform your leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results? Let's get ready for liftoff. It's time to go from great to greater. Here's Josh in today's episode.
Welcome to the Josh Parnell Leadership Podcast. Once again, I'm excited to be here with you. Today we got a new guest with us. Our guest is a friend of mine, good friend of mine. He and I have known each other for a couple years now, and I'm excited to finally have him on. Our guest today is a best-selling author. He's a speaker, he's an educator, and he's a former coach, Chip Baker. Chip, thanks for being here, man.
Man, thank you so much for having me. I've been excited to get here. We've been trying to make it work for a while. I'm glad we've been able to figure it out. It's always a treat when the good guys get to meet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you being here as well.
Yes, sir.
Well, Chip, man, before we get started, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience and let us know all about Chip Baker.
Man, I am Chip Baker, ordinary guy working real hard to achieve some extraordinary things. Man, been blessed and fortunate. I come from a family of church folk. I say that with no S, and educators. And the reason I say that is because, growing up, we were in church a lot because my mother was a minister of music in our churches. So always in church growing up. And I'm grateful for that upbringing because it showed me that it was important to live a life of service. It showed me that it's bigger than me. And just quite frankly, it ain't about you. It showed me that, you have to go above and beyond to give service to others. Played sports, surrounded by some great people. Went to college, played college football, graduated there, went to Conroe Independent School District where I became an educator. Just finished, I'm in my 25th year of education. I've coached for 20 of those years, football, powerlifting. And it's been great. About 8 years ago, started my YouTube channel and podcast, The Success Chronicles. And what I do is I just interview people from all walks of life and share their stories for positive inspiration and motivation. A little over 5 years ago, started writing books. And to the date, published or been a part of 18 of those.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been a great journey, man. And so that brings us to where we are today. Truly grateful for every ounce of it. Don't take any of it lightly. But it also shows me that big things are possible, so it motivates me to keep pushing.
Love that. Well, and where we are today, Chip, is you brought two of your most recent books to share. And so if you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can see the books that I'm holding up right now. You just released The Impact of Influence, Volume 6.
Yes, sir.
So there are 5 volumes before this. And as well as you mentioned this in your introduction, it's not about me. This book called It's Not About Me, Being of Service to Others. Chip, talk to us about the importance of service as it relates to leadership and what that looks like to you.
I mean, they're synonymous. Service is leadership. Leadership is service if you're doing it right. And so I think, we have to live a life where we live and experience some things. Along that path and that journey, we learn so many things about the world, but we learn so much about ourselves. Right. And then we get to a space to where, now once we've learned something, it's important for us to share that learning service.
Yeah.
It's important for us to share that with others so that they can move more efficiently and effectively in their life. And it's truly fulfilling and rewarding when you do that because, you learn by experience that the ups and downs, the bumps and bruises, the things that you've had to grow through in your life, it was for a purpose. And when you get to that space in your life, it's all about the give back, the service piece, which leads to dynamic leadership because you're giving back based off your experience.
It's so encouraging for you, to hear you talk about what it's like to make an impact through service. I don't want to glaze over the fact that you shared with us that you've been a teacher for over 25 years and a coach for 20 years. I can't imagine the thousands and thousands of kids that you've been able to make an impact on and make a difference. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Chip. If I asked you, think about, a couple kids who you worked with over the years what are some success stories? We talk about the Success Chronicles. That's your podcast and your YouTube channel. But what are some success stories from your years as a teacher and a coach?
Man, I love that. I love that you asked that because I do have lots. But I think the first thing that I want to say too is giving service, helping others, understanding that it's above you, it's not about you, and doing things the right way. You're supposed to do that, right? Like if you sign up for it, you're supposed to do that with everything you got. And so, man, I've strived to go above and beyond just to help others, just to give back, to be of service. And then fast forward, I talked to you about all of the things that I've been blessed to be involved in and do and achieve. My biggest supporters have been those people that I've poured into a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right. And when I was pouring into those people, I wasn't saying, hey, well, I'm going to look out for this kid because in a few years I'm going to have a podcast and he's going to subscribe to my podcast. It wasn't that. No, it was like, hey, like you're supposed to be a good dude and help people.
Yeah.
Right. And so like the byproduct of that is, you get what you give. Come on. Hold on. Wait a minute.
Say it again.
Input equals output.
What does that mean?
Hold on. Wait a minute. So what you put into something is what you're going to get out of it. And so, man, like I said, I strive to give my all to those kids, those people that I work with every moment of every day. And what I didn't know is that they saw that. Like it was important to them to see that I was intentional. The way I dressed, the way I carried myself, the way I treated people, I was intentional about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that people saw that. And so now, man, like I said, those people have been my biggest supporters. And I'll tell you, going into a story, I had this one young man. I smile when I think about it because, man, I'm so proud of him. But we used to do football camps, and he came to our camp as a young guy, like 5th, 6th grade. And his name was hard to pronounce and nobody could pronounce his name. And so I took it upon myself as an educator, like your name is important.
Sure.
Like your family, like that's your family heritage, right?
Yeah.
That's important. So every time, like when I had a new group, when I call roll, it was important for me to say, hey, if I don't say your name right, please make sure that you tell me because I want to honor your name and your family and pronounce it the right way. And if I don't get that, you tell me so I can get it right because it's important to me to honor you and your family. And so we had this guy, junior high, well, no, he was like elementary. He was going to our football camps and his name was hard to pronounce. Nobody could get his name. So I asked him, hey, how you say your name? And I watched his mouth, right?
Yeah.
You know how you pronounce it? And then I repeated it a few times. I said, say it again. And I watched his mouth. Right. And I repeated it. I was like, I'll have it down tomorrow. So then the next day he came and I said his name. His name was Faridafar.
Okay.
That was his last name.
Okay.
And so I got it right. And from that moment, I won that kid.
Yeah, I bet.
Right.
Intentionality.
So every year he came to our football camp, played in junior high in the school that fed our high school. Once he got to high school, he came to our high school. I was one of his coaches. He remembered that coach that said his name the right way when he was in the 5th grade.
Love that.
He ended up being a really good football player for us, was one of my best power lifters that I had, man, on the team with him. That group, man, I took probably almost a whole team to the regional powerlifting meet. I mean, great kids. Like they loved working out. I would have to kick them out the weight room because they loved it so much, right? Had a blast, probably my best time in coaching. But man, ended up having a great bond and relationship with him. Fast forward, I got a head job in my hometown, which is Hearn, Texas. He was in college at Blaine College, which is in Bryan, which is kind of close. So I was able to get him on as an assistant just to help out, because he knew the system, how we did it, so he knew all of those things. So he was able to then pour into the kids in my hometown the way I poured into him.
Incredible. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it gets better. Hold on, it gets better. hang on, rock, just hang with me. It gets better, right? And so he was able to use how the coach, because it wasn't just me, but we had a great staff at Conroe. So he saw how we poured into him. He was able to do that to kids in my hometown, develop relationships with the kids in the community there, just like I did with him. Then, I shifted and moved back over to Oak Ridge, to Conroe. He ended up moving back, going to Sam Houston to finish his degree. And he decided to go into business. And we had the conversation. Should I go the business route? Should I go, because I wanted to be a teacher, coach. Like, hey, first off, he allowed me to sit down with him and help him make a life decision.
Yeah.
Let's not overlook that.
Right.
But there's like, hey, in business, you're still coaching, because you're going to be coaching, leading people around you. So worked for Papacitos.
Okay. Yeah.
Started there within like 2 years. Dude was like one of the upper level managers. I mean, great guy, right? And then now, fast forward, that's been like 5 years. Now he just hired my son to work for him.
That's amazing.
Like 2 weeks ago, for him, and now he is in leadership, leading my son and pointing to my son.
Talk about a full circle moment.
So, and I know it took me a little while to say that, but I wanted to make sure I take time to show all of the things, how it progressed. So now I wholeheartedly entrust that guy that is with my son. I know that he's going to give my son his all every moment of every day, because that's what I gave him back in the day.
Chip, you're describing the ripple effect, and you're sharing each ripple along the way. I mean, you think about throwing a rock in a lake, and you see that ripple, right? And there's so much to unpack just from that one story. Like I know there's thousands of stories that you have, but just from that one story. And I'm hearing you talk about how you planted a seed years ago, and you kept watering the grass and watering the grass and watering the grass, and you didn't necessarily expect or you weren't hoping to get something out of this. You don't give to get,
no,
but you get to give, and when you get to give, all of a sudden it just comes back to you, even if you're not looking for it, even if you're not wanting it. Yep. I mean, that's amazing. I think that's incredible that you are so intentional with everyone that you meet. I can speak firsthand to that, because you and I met a couple years ago, and from that moment, I mean, there's been some intentionality. You reach out to me pretty randomly and just be like, hey man, just checking on you. That is so important for people in our life. Like, we all have a lot going on, right? We got a lot going on. A lot of us are going to say we don't have time in the day. And some of us can say we're not making the time. I really appreciate how you make the time to check on your friends. And so kudos to you for that, man.
Thank you so much.
Chip, I want to talk about a three-word phrase that is the namesake for this episode. You're smiling because you know what I'm going to say.
Come, let's go.
And that is go get it.
Yes, sir.
Anytime I think about Chip Baker, I think about go get it.
Yes, sir.
So, that's kind of your tagline, go get it. I'm going to ask you, where did that come from, and what does go get it mean to you?
I'm going to say this. You said this a few seconds ago. I don't know if you realize you said this. First off, I'm going to say, it's important to go get it so that you can go give it. And I'm going to start with that, but then I'm going to go back and tell you where it came from. So it's important to have positive self-talk, right? It's important to have positive self-talk. The most important relationship or conversations that you have should be with yourself, because when you're able to do that, it allows you to be the best version of yourself so that you can give the best version of yourself.
That's so strong. Yeah.
And so, man, like growing up, I've had just self-talk. And so as an athlete, push yourself, got to get better, just all of those things. And in different levels, went to college, it was like, let's get better. Environment, everybody's great. Got to get better.
Yeah.
So then when I graduated from college, I set my goals. I had my 5-year, 10-year BHAGs, all of that. I had all my goals, set. And for me, okay, bro, let's go get it. And so, and now that was my internal, started with my internal self-talk. Then once I got into teaching and coaching, it would slip out every now and then. Hey man, let's go get it. Hey, let's go get it, right? Then people start saying it back to me, like, okay, let's go get it.
Yeah.
And then now, like, it's a thing, like, it's my thing. And I believe that no significant success is just going to come to you. You have to be intentional about it, and you have to go get it, man. You got to make it happen.
I love that.
And so that's what I wholeheartedly believe with everything I got. Like if it is to be, it's up to me, dog.
If it is to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
So I love hearing you say that, Chip. I mean, something that every time I see you, every time we're around each other, you always got a smile on your face.
Yeah.
You are someone who naturally, I think, attracts other people.
Awesome.
And for me, it looks natural, like, but I also know how intentional and intentionality is important to you, right? And so, let me ask you this: on the days that you're just not feeling it, like you're not feeling like the Chip Baker that we all know and that we all love, on those days, how do you get above the line to go get it? And furthermore, what advice can you give to someone who struggles with negative self-talk?
Yeah. I think, first off, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching this, you need to know that today is one of those days for me.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you this. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Right. So the reason I ask, because I'm getting over sickness.
Yeah.
My voice is not quite like, this like, it's not quite.
Is Barry White here?
Yeah. Barry. Where's Barry? Yeah. Where's Barry? Yeah. It's not quite what it is. I've had, a couple long evenings, got up early to be here to do this. Man, I'm really tired. I got a lot on my plate. I got a lot going on. Got some family stuff. Like I could choose to say, poor me. Right?
Yeah.
I could choose to, poor Chip. Right? But what I choose to do, because it is a choice.
Yes.
What I choose to do is say, hey, man, this is an amazing opportunity. And this guy, this great leader guy that's done some really cool things, he thinks enough of me to invite me to have him on his podcast to talk leadership. Bro, get over yourself. Get over there and get it done, dog. Right? I know without a shadow of a doubt that there's somebody that's going to listen to this or see this, and it's going to help them in their life. So for me, wait a minute. The first thing we talked about, it ain't about me.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about me. And so that's how I get over that. That's how I grow through that, because I make the perspective not about me. I make the perspective about what can I give. Now, what happens when I do that is, man, when I get to go visit the big man, he going to look at me and be proud of that, because he know by the shadow of a doubt, like, hey, bro, you did that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like, man, you got over yourself. You were humble. You were grateful. You didn't have like ego. It wasn't a prideful. It's all about me. Like, no, none of that. I know that it's bigger than me. And I think, quote that I've heard, a long time ago, how we view what we do is how we do what we do.
Yeah.
And so you have to have the proper perspective of how you look at things. Are you grateful? Do you look at it as an opportunity? And that's one thing that I do, even with my son. In the good, I help him pause. What are you grateful for? In the bad, help him pause. What are you grateful for? What are you learning from this? Right? And I think if we can do those two things in every situation, it allows us to have continued growth. It allows us to continue to move on. It allows us to be intentional. It allows us to do great things that we could never even imagine we could achieve. And that's what it's been about me. And so to the people that have negative self-talk, I would say just take one step each day to be positive.
I love that, Chip. I think that it's important too that, we don't glaze over the fact that you mentioned that this is a choice.
It's a choice.
It's perspective, right? You talked about you can view this as an opportunity, you can view this as an inconvenience, but at the end of the day, there is somebody out there that God is putting in our life to allow you to make an impact on their life. And so when you capture these opportunities and you view things differently so that you can subsequently do things differently, all of a sudden you say, you know what, I'm going to go get it. Even on those days that I'm not feeling it, I'm going to go get it today. And so I think it's great that you reference that it is a choice.
Yeah.
We have a choice, even in the very tough days, our down days.
Yes, sir.
Like not every day is going to be a good day, but we can find the good in every day. And so we can find the good in every day and make it a choice. I also want to comment on the fact that you talked about gratitude. And I think it's important that we recognize gratitude is a practice.
Yeah.
Like we can practice gratitude, which will help change our perspective, which you talked about.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, how do you practice gratitude?
You have to build a gratitude muscle.
What does that mean?
I believe that reps make you better.
Yeah.
Like if I can't go in the weight room and look at the bar and expect to get big muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I got to put some weight on that thing. Bro, I got to move the bar. Bro, I got to make it hurt. I got to sweat. Even when I don't feel like, I got to get my butt in there and make it happen.
Yeah.
Right? If I want to get smarter, I can't look at a book or touch the book to my head. Oh, bam, I'm smart. Right? No, it don't happen like that. I got to open that thing up and read it and highlight, take notes, and then go back and process it and then see how I can apply what I learned. Unless I got to put the work in.
Yeah.
And so when you're striving to get better on your gratitude, because it's not an if, you got to do that.
Yeah.
Right? When you strive to be better on your gratitude, I just think you have to take one step at a time to be grateful each day. And really that comes from having a heightened sense of awareness that you are fortunate. Things could be better, but things can also be way worse. So we have to make sure that we have a heightened sense of awareness to be able to, in any situation, find the good you talk about. Because if you allow yourself to do that, then now you can get to the next moment. And then you just stack those moments, because really what happens is life is hard, life is challenging, life is tough, but tough times don't last, tough people do. And so it's just a moment.
Yeah.
Just get through this moment. It's not a whole day, right? It's just maybe a few minutes of your day. So in these few tough minutes, how are you going to buckle down and get through these few tough minutes? Because it's a choice and you can change it and make it better for the rest of your day.
So good. Oprah Winfrey said something along the lines of, when you're thankful for what you have, you'll end up having more.
Come on.
If you focus on what you don't have, you'll never, ever have enough. Yes. And I think it's so easy for us to be mindful of the negative things that occur in our life. We're real quick to point out the losses in our life, that like the bad things that happen on a daily basis. But there's so many wins that we have. There's so many things that we can be grateful for and that we're blessed with.
Yes, sir.
But we overlook. We take it. We unintentionally take advantage or take for granted all the positive things. And if we can start focusing on one win, and then we get another win, and then we start stacking those wins, all of a sudden we can look back at the end of the day and say, you know what? Like, there was a lot of wins in today, but I didn't realize that until I shifted my perspective.
And as I hear you say that. We have to have some noise cancellation systems in our life. For example, I'm a little older, so first kind of headphones we had.
I think you meant wiser, Chip.
I meant that. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah, I said older, but when I give you this, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, he meant wise.
That's right.
Those old little headphones you put on your ears, you can still hear stuff. Then they start making the buds you put in your ear. You can still hear stuff, but then they made these big things. You put on your ear like they're like huge, right? And you put them on your ear, and you hear nothing else but the music.
Yeah.
And I'm a music guy, right? Like you hear like the snare drum and the guitar and the bass guitar. Like you can hear all of that, like the subtle beat. Like you can hear all of that good music because you have on noise cancellation headphones.
So how do you silence the noise in the background?
So in your life, we have to have systems in place to cancel out the noise. And like for me, that's reflection time. For me, that's prioritizing what's important for me. Saying yes to some things, saying no to some things.
Yeah,
because it allows me to say yes to the things that are important to me. Being intentional. having gratitude, like all of those things we've talked about so far in the podcast.
Yep.
Those are systems in place for noise cancellation. And this is good right here, get ready. So, and what that does is when you allow yourself to do that, it puts you in alignment with your assignment, right? Whatever that special talent that the big man has given you, he's blessed you with, that he wants you to do in a limitless leadership way, right? Whatever that is, it allows you to be honed in and be the best version of yourself in your lane, in alignment with your assignment.
Love that. You're staying in your lane. There are things happening outside of your lanes, but that's just noise in the background. You've been able to silence that. I mean, Chip, you routed off 5 different things that you can do to silence the noise.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can just begin to implement 1 or 2 of those things,
right,
and then eventually start adding to that bucket, man, I can see, and I can see why and how you're so consistent. And that's another topic of conversation I want to bring up with you. Because, man, I really appreciate how every time I speak with you, every time I see you posted on social media or doing whatever you're doing, consistency is the name of the game, and you are a master at that game. So let me ask you this. How do you stay consistent? How do you show up every day? And what does grit and perseverance mean to you?
That's that one question that you asked, that's a whole other podcast episode.
Yeah.
Because that's my jam, right? I think the biggest compliment that someone can give me personally, Chip Baker, is to say, man, that dude's consistent, right? Because that's something that I work, because that's something that I'm intentional about. I want to know beyond a shadow of a doubt, whoever I come in contact with, they know what they're going to get from Chip Baker. Right?
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt, I know what I'm going to get from Chip. I can depend on that dude. I can bank on the fact that he going to do what he's supposed to do with a smile on his face, good attitude. He's got to show up somewhere. He going to be there early. He going to give me everything he got.
Love that.
And for me, that's what I've strived to do my whole life. And for me, it's the ultimate compliment for somebody to see that. Like I didn't say anything to you about that. Like for you to say, man, you're consistent.
Well, the thing is, Chip, and what you do is you show up. Like that's something that for a lot of folks, when we make it about ourselves, we don't always show up. But as you said, it's not about me. It's not about you, right? And you show up. And I think it's important that we recognize how important it is for us to show up for other people.
Yeah.
When you showed up for that young man years ago, all of a sudden he started showing up differently for you and for his teammates and for his classmates. And I think the moment we find a leader, the moment we find a boss or a manager, or anyone in our life who's pouring into us, they're showing up for us in a way that no one else has. All of a sudden, that's all it takes is that one person. And you can be that one person to spark a belief in somebody else that will allow them to go and do amazing things.
I love that ripple effect that you described, because it's so true. And and this is another thing, like I was smiling as you were saying that, because like that's what I believe. That's what I strive to exhibit in the traits that I exhibit, right? Like you talked about consistency. Well, how do you get consistency? And I have a SHG principle that I have. And like, this is something like, I'm not just saying, hey, I'm on this great podcast, got an opportunity, I'm just throwing this out there. No, this is what I do in my life. Like the S is show up. Like, and you said
I didn't know that.
Right. And you didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I was like, when you said, I was like, oh yeah. All right. Oh yeah. Like the S is show up. The H is have a great attitude. Right. I believe that gratitude is the attitude that determines our altitude.
Love that.
Right. And so we have to be grateful for what we have. And when we are grateful, it allows us to soar to high heights. Right. And we've talked about that already.
Sure.
As well. And then the G is give your all. Right. Man, just give me everything you got today.
Yeah.
Right. Like, sometimes we may be at 90% or 70%, but give me 100% of that 70%.
Yeah. That's so
you know, like give me everything you got of that, because what happens is when you show up, have a great attitude, and give your all, it allows you to achieve some pretty amazing things. It allows you to make a pretty impressive impact. It allows you to be proud of the things that you've accomplished, because you just got your head down and you put in the work in.
Yeah.
It allows you at the end of the day, when you get to go visit the big man, to not just have left a legacy, it will allow you to have lived a legacy.
Yes.
By your day-to-day actions, just by showing up, having a great attitude, and giving your all each moment of each day.
So good, Chip. And I think it's important that we go over the fact that you mentioned you're not giving 100%, you're giving your all. Because there are days where, let's say you're sick, let's say you're injured, let's say something's going on, and you can't give 100. But to your point, if you can give 70, give 70. If you can give 80, give 80. Give it your all.
You may even think you just got 70 in the tank, but when you get there and you give 90.
Yes. So good.
Like, come on.
You start to give, and then you can give a little bit more.
Oh, man, come on.
Love that. Well, Chip Baker, go get it. Man, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Chip. Hey, this is not going to be our last time on the podcast.
No.
I'd love to have you on again.
For sure.
But man, thanks for being here.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you so much for having me. I love what you do, love what you're about. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, you know you got me. Go get it.
I appreciate you, Chip. Well, Chip, before we go, how can our audience get in touch with you and connect with you?
All of my social media is at Chip Baker TSC, as in The Success Chronicles, except for Twitter, and it's Chip Baker 19. And so, man, just like the usual, like everybody says, please like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment, all of that stuff. But even bigger than that, man, I just ask that if you go on there on any of my social media or anything, and you see something that you like and someone that you love or care about comes to mind or the heart, and just share it with them to make their life better.
Love that. Yeah. Chip Baker TSC, The Success Chronicles. Go subscribe, go like, go comment. I'll say it for you, Chip, because man, everything that you're doing is amazing, and I appreciate you for being here. Well, thank you for tuning into the Josh Parnell Leadership Podcast. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day. Don't forget to smile today. Tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. I'm Josh Parnell, reminding you to keep leading well.